why isn't growth hormone causing muscle protein synthesis? There's got to be other regulatory mechanisms. What's up, guys? Troy here. Today I'm going to be talking about MK677, why it sucks, what the side effects are, and how to get the most muscle possible when using this compound. First, to understand, we need to know what MK677 is. MK677 is a growth hormone secretagogue. Specifically, it acts upon the ghrelin receptor to increase growth hormone secretion in the brain. So it acts as if it is ghrelin stimulating hunger in the brain, which then causes your pituitary to release growth hormone. Now, growth hormone then increases our IGF-1 production in the liver, thus causing increased muscle mass, theoretically, of course. But what's seen with MK677 is this is not the case. So first we need to know, why isn't this happening? Why aren't we seeing more muscle mass when MK677 is used? First, we need to understand that what inhibits growth hormone secretion. When growth hormone is secreted, it increases somatostatin, which is also known as growth hormone inhibitory hormone. It increases amino acids, and it increases your blood sugar, decreases your insulin sensitivity. So this means you're going to have more amino acids in the blood, more blood glucose, and more somatostatin, all factors that are decreasing your growth hormone response. In addition, MK677 has a half-life of 4.7 hours. So this means that it's increasing growth hormone concentrations in the blood for over 8 hours straight. Now, you might think this is great. However, the main effects we want from growth hormone are mediated via IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. This is what increases muscle protein synthesis and thus increases our gains from MK677. With chronic growth hormone elevation, increased blood glucose decreases our possibility for gains. And I'm going to explore this later when we're talking about the consequences of having elevated growth hormone and thus glycemia. In addition to having high blood sugar levels, studies to date haven't shown an appreciable amount of muscle mass gain. Most of them have been just showing free fat mass gain. This means organ, bone, muscle, and water. There is no study that has shown that cross-sectional area of muscle has increased, that there is no hypertrophic effect on the muscle, that the muscle cells themselves haven't increased in size. Also, there's a decrease in growth hormone sensitivity when we're flooding our body with growth hormone. And I'm going to explore how to get rid of that, how to get the most out of MK677. For example, MK677 has been given to obese individuals. What they noted was an increase in free fat mass and intracellular water. Now, when people think of free fat mass, they think, well, free fat mass equals muscle mass, but that's not the case. Free fat mass is anything that is not fat. So bone, muscle, water, and organs. There was no measurement of cross-sectional area in this study. They just noted that there was an increase in free fat. Lastly, there was no increase in muscle strength or function when MK677 was given to these individuals. Now, if there was an increase in hypertrophy, why wouldn't there be an increase in concomitant strength? So if you're using MK677 by itself, there's going to be no increase in muscle mass. Another study often quoted in the community is one that involves elderly individuals given MK677. What they found was there was an increased IGF-1 concentration of 40% when these individuals were given MK677. Their fat-free mass was increased as well, and there was a transient increase in basal metabolic rate. Now, I've already talked about the faultiness of just measuring free fat mass as a measure and quantifying that and saying that is lean mass, because it's not. Free fat mass is just not lean mass. There's been no study to date that I've found on MK677 that quantifies result via cross-sectional area. Even though there's an increase in IGF-1, there's also an increase in IGF-1 binding proteins. So these proteins, they bind IGF-1 and stop it from exerting its actions. So even though you may have an increased serum IGF-1, so total, your free amount that is available to do things is decreased because there's more binding proteins that are holding it back from exerting its effects. And this is noted in the same study where IGF binding protein 3 is increased greatly, and thus there's going to be decreased IGF-1 that's circulating in the blood and increasing muscle protein synthesis. While not related to MK677, other studies have been conducted on growth hormone and muscle mass. And what's been found is that growth hormone, exogenous growth hormone, does not increase muscle protein synthesis, strength, or hypertrophy of muscle cells. There is no increase in muscle mass when growth hormone is used. Why isn't growth hormone causing muscle protein synthesis? There's got to be other regulatory mechanisms. And I think I found it out. Firstly, let's look at somatostatin secretion and its effects on IGF-1 and growth hormone. When there is a state of hyperglycemia, as such, there's a lot of growth hormone in the blood, somatostatin acts to decrease growth hormone secretion. It does this by decreasing the intracellular response to growth hormone in the liver. There is less IGF-1 production and less IGF-1 sensitivity, thus decrease muscle protein synthesis because somatostatin is greatly increased and offsets the anabolic effect of growth hormone. The hyperglycemia present decreases your follistatin, which means that you're going to have increased myostatin. Myostatin is a regulator of muscle mass. More myostatin, less muscle mass, meaning that the hyperglycemia is not only decreasing your response to growth hormone, but it's also decreasing your ability to build muscle via myostatin. It's a double whammy. You're losing because of hyperglycemia. So these regulatory effects are decreasing your ability to gain muscle mass. And that's why we're not seeing any effects in these studies. This is backed up by study models where they've looked at people with type 2 diabetes. And what they found is that they have a 22 to 33% decrease in follistatin when there's hyperglycemia present. And when you're using MK677, you're going to have constant hyperglycemia, meaning you're shooting yourself in the foot for gaining muscle. And that's why there's no muscle mass accrual. Enough about the doom and gloom. I want to get the most out of MK677. But to get the most, we need to get rid of the hyperglycemia. We need to make sure that we have low levels of myostatin, and we want to potentiate the effects of growth hormone. We want to be more growth hormone sensitive. First, we need to look at a molecule in the cell called PTP1B. It's responsible for decreasing insulin sensitivity. So we need to get rid of that so we can increase our glucose uptake into the cell and thus get our blood glucose level. It's not only the glycemic effects of PTP1B, but it's been shown in studies that transmission of the growth hormone signal depends on JAK2. JAK2 is an intracellular component which amplifies growth hormone secretion. When there's increased growth hormone, this JAK2 doesn't respond as well. And what's been found is that when PTP1B is knocked out in a mouse model, that the growth hormone's effects are potentiated, that you're going to get more from the growth hormone that you have right now. Not only does it decrease blood sugar, but it also increases growth hormone sensitivity. A potent inhibitor of PTP1B is chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid is found in green coffee bean extract. And what's been found is that green coffee bean extract decreases insulin levels, decreases blood glucose to a normal level, and decreases PTP1B activity. So that's going to help us get our follistatin levels and our muscle building potential up. A dose as little as 400 milligrams of green coffee bean extract can decrease insulin and fasting blood glucose. So it's a great compound to take if somebody is interested in decreasing the negative effects of MK677. Onto the more anecdotal side of decreasing MK677 side effects and increasing the growth hormone responsiveness. People have theorized that huperzine A, vitamin B5, and alpha GPC will enhance the growth hormone secretion in response to MK677. So this could either be through decreasing somatostatin or increasing growth hormone releasing hormone. Now, this is completely unknown, so the use of these would be completely anecdotal, and there's very little evidence except for alpha GPC that there's an increase in growth hormone concentration. And unfortunately, if we're looking at somatostatin, if we decrease somatostatin, there's going to be an even more exacerbated effect on our hyperglycemia. We're going to have higher blood glucose if we use some sort of somatostatin inhibitor. And this is going to cause even worse diabetic levels of glycemia. Therefore, you're going to need even more glucose disposal agents such as berberine or cinnamic acid or hinokiol to decrease your blood glucose. And this is because somatostatin augments the secretion of insulin and glucagon, thus regulating your blood sugar level. So if you're getting rid of the gauge that regulates your blood sugar, then you're going to have even worse blood sugar levels. In conclusion, MK677 hasn't been proven in any metric to increase muscle mass accrual. There has been no study that has shown increased cross-sectional area of muscle. Second, hyperglycemia negatively affects follistatin levels and growth hormone responsiveness intracellularly, and this is decreasing your ability to gain muscle from MK677. Your anabolic response can be rescued via PTP1B inhibition through chlorogenic acid, otherwise green bean coffee extract. All of this is theoretical, of course, and addition of other glucose disposal agents could also enhance the normoglycemic, or bringing your blood glucose within a normal range, effect, and possibly enhancing muscle mass and muscle accrual. And all of this is theoretical. There is nothing that's proven. Nobody has done blood work to see their somatostatin levels after using huperzine or alpha GPC or chlorogenic acid. This is all based on a theoretical framework. You know what? If you like this content, I want you to comment, subscribe. I want to see, what do you think? Have you used MK677? Tell me your experiences in this comment section below.